what we're here about today is the absolute heart of God. Anything we know about parenting, we know about being a father or a mother, we get from the heart of God. And Clive and I just want to say that that's a given, and we might quote the odd verse, but underlying all of that is we know that the many years we've been parents, we could not have done it without God's help. And we are eternally grateful for all the help that He has brought our way, all the encouragement He has brought our way through various people and means. Now, I have a clock because I am terrible at whittering on and going over. So, in your books, the first session, and it's quite good to follow a bit, and the funny thing is that you'll see from following that I don't. But that doesn't matter. Right, let's look at this. We're going to look at shaping a family. And the first thing I want to say about shaping a family is, if you don't remember anything that I say about this, please remember this. The most important thing that we do when we're shaping a family is be team. By that I mean try and do the thing together. There is a lot of deals done nowadays in marriage and in parenting where we kind of tag team in, and that has its role and that has its purpose and moments. But I observe a lot of the time it ends up leaving one or other of us feeling quite isolated. And it's also quite confusing for your children. So if underlying anything you do and what you decide to do and the way you do it, you know that you are a team and your children know that you are a team, that adds a whole level of security to your parenting. So, let's look at the first thing, intuition or intention. We love a word, don't we? Do we go with the flow as parents? Do we do what comes naturally, or do we have a plan? I think if we go with the flow, we often end up like poor old Michael McIntyre, absolutely losing it and just doing what does come naturally, which is shouting. I used to end up on a Sunday night, Clive went to church, and I'd have to get 6 kids ready for school, and I often wondered why I ended up in tears and hoarse, because I had raised my voice so much. That was in the days before we had much input as parents. But do we have a plan? And I think that this is very important, that we think, are we just going on our inherited traits? Or are we actually thinking about what we're doing? When we look at our children, we start with a blank canvas. Yes, they might have my nose, they might have Clive's toes. The girls aren't very happy about that. They don't mind my nose, but they're not so happy about having his toes. But these are physical attributes they have. But by and large, a child, a baby, is a blank canvas. And they can be written on by you, but they can also be written on by anyone. And the reason we've called this whole course Shape is because it is important that firstly we know the shape that we want for our family, but secondly we have a plan so we can eventually get to that shape. And we don't shape them because we want an easy life. You know, like in that clip, we want you to go to sleep so that then we can have some time. Yes, that is part of it. But we don't shape them because we want something. We want to shape them because we want them to be the best that they can be, whatever that is. And it's different for all of us. But we want them to realise their potential. And that's why we want to be intentional as parents. That's why we want to think about what shape do we want our family to be. Okay, so intuition, as I've said, has a a natural element. It's kind of your gut reaction, it's kind of what you do. But it can swerve to rot. I mean, if you think about yourself, if you had no boundaries and you were just left to your own devices, you'd probably be quite a selfish, self-orientated individual. And positive parenting is not just relying on what comes naturally. And you have to step beyond that. I mean, for myself, I'm not naturally a tactile person. I wasn't brought up that way. I'm not a touchy-feely, cuddly, whatever sort of person. That's not my natural response. Then I met Clive, who's the total opposite. That is his way. And I've had to learn that through Clive, and I've had to realise that some of my kids very much needed that. And I've had to get over what is natural and be intentional about some of my children needing much more physical, tactile touch than others. And just because it wasn't my way and I didn't receive it, I don't want to just revert to that with my kids. Okay, so let's look at the intention. What is being purposeful? All it is having a sense of direction. We know where we're going and we've got an aim, and it's broad sweeps. Yes, we can break it down into detail, but that's not what we're here today to do, because we're all different situations, different children. What we're here today is to try and give you some broad sweeps. And being a purposeful, intentional parent, which is what we're all doing to a degree already. So today is just about helping us focus on that a bit more and to, if you like, be even more intentional. But what it does, it gives us a key to shape the future of our family. If I want something as an end result, I can't wait till I get to the bottom of that jar before I start to implement it, because it's not going to happen. But if I know at the beginning, you guys were starting right at the beginning, your child is still a baby. If I know at the beginning what sort of shape I want for my family, then intentionally, and oh gosh, we're going to fail and have blips, I have no doubt about that, but intentionally you are sowing all the time towards getting at the bottom down here, that shape in place. Our family, obviously things like respect, honesty were important, generosity was important, hugely important. That was one of the major shapes in our family. We had a family motto. If you said to our kids now, what's our family motto? They would say to you, we can afford to be generous. And by that, we didn't mean money, we meant of ourselves and time. We were an inclusive family, we had open doors, we shared lots of meals, we did lots of stuff with kids who maybe their families weren't doing stuff with them, and we always used to say to our kids when they got a bit fed up with it, oh, you haven't got to have so-and-so for lunch again, we'd say, we can afford to be generous. And it thrills me now to see my kids doing that, to see my son last year inviting someone in for Christmas because they had nowhere to go. And that for me is representing one of the shapes in our family. We can afford to be generous. So that's what I mean about being intentional. And the other thing about being intentional is not thinking that we have to get all the answers and know it all and be it all for ourselves. It's being vulnerable enough as a parent to know when we're missing it, when we don't know the answer, and going somewhere and saying, like here, I need some encouragement, I need some insights. It's reading a book, going on a course. It's sharing with other people in a similar situation. And we're very wise if we do that. The Christian perspective is train a child in the older, he will not depart from it. Key phrase, when he is older. Kids are on a piece of elastic. One end is love, one end is communication. You love them, you communicate with them, hopefully they communicate with you, be it in the odd grunt or whatever, and they love you. What goes on, sometimes in the middle, it's like a piece of elastic, they go out of sight. But eventually they come back. And I think that's the important thing. Sow it in, sow it in, sow it in, sow it in, and eventually, one day, they will not depart from it. And I think with parents, intentional parenting, we have to have the big picture. We have to be in it for the long haul. We have to know that today isn't what it's all about. And that's very hard when you're in it, as Michael McIntyre showed us. Okay, so if we're just going down a bit, problems or potential, we often look at parenting and boundaries, discipline, as problems. Now, discipline just simply means to train. That's all it means. But we look at it as a very negative thing. We'd rather like to look at it to see the potential. A boundary is put in place because it's going to reinforce something that's going to hopefully release the potential in your child. And that's one of the reasons why we have to get our kids to sleep, because if we didn't, they would not function and they would become ill and they'd be rubbish, and so would we. Boundaries are there for reasons. And if you think about other things like tantrums, naughtiness, their teenage years when they rebel, dating, there has to be boundaries. There has to be rules, but it's not a negative thing. And as parents, if we could hold this in the back of our mind, that it's not all about the no, 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 don't, but it's about reinforcing things so that it's a platform for them to reach their potential. And, you know, it's about preempting things. And if parents could preempt things by thinking through, well, what am I going to do in that situation? Then it often doesn't become the problem that we make it, because we've thought about it beforehand and it has the chance of becoming a more positive experience. Now, I know this can sound words, but if you think about something like teenagers and dating, we used to have ground rules. We used to say, look, we need to know where you're going. That's a given. You don't go somewhere we don't know where you are. We have to have a phone number. We have to have a time. If it was a party in someone's house, is there an adult there? They knew those were the boundaries. Those were for their protection and their safety. They often don't think it at that age. But they knew that was the given. They knew they were always going to have that conversation with us when that issue came up. So building in stuff that potentially can preempt some of the issues is very important, and it gives your child a stake in the decision making. You start very young. We've got a grandchild of 5 who always had to take his stuff with him. I don't know if it was an attachment issue, but if we were going anywhere, he'd literally have a rucksack of cards. So in the end, I said, right, William, yes, you can take something, but only 2 things. Oh, no, but I want to take, I said, no, 2. So you pick which 2 cards you're going to take. By involving him in the decision making, we actually got to the point where we could do that. These things are important. Intentional, it eases us as well in the reinforcing of these boundaries, because it doesn't keep catching us on the hop. And also it helps us be a team, because we've had a discussion, so there's 2 of us hopefully going at this rather than 1. And it is important because it does help the child reach its potential. The Bible says that our children, that we are, and our children, made in God's image. And, you know, God's image, all these things, forgiveness, love, kindness, generosity, all these things, these are part of God's image. How are we going to draw these out of our children if we're just going to do it on a whim and a prayer and hope one day when they're an adult they're going to be these wonderful, adjusted people? These things don't happen by accident. We know that. Parenting isn't done by osmosis. But somehow we think, and society tells us perhaps it is. So being intentional is very important. And just doing it naturally is not the way, because we do swerve to what? And the Bible also tells us that men have sinned and we're selfish. And gosh, we know that. Okay, so the role of the parent. Families are the place of belonging. This is your family. It's your right to do it your way. Other people will seek to influence you, but it's your family. And I think sometimes we get a bit bashed about by people saying, do it this way, do it that way, you should be doing this. And comparisons that we forget, actually, this is my family, and if I choose to do it this way, this is my right. Because your family, your parenting, is coming out of a heart of love. And the role of the parent is that we are making this family a place of belonging. And what makes it a place of belonging is that this is the place where you love your children unconditionally. And by that I mean you love them not for what they do, but just for who they are. And it's the place of belonging where we are looked after, but we learn in this place to look after other people. It's a place where your child is loved, but this is the place where they learn to love other people. So it's a place of belonging where we can be ourselves. This is the place where they don't have to keep comparing themselves, where they don't have to impress anybody. And there's not many places of that, are there? Out there in school and the world, all the time there are comparisons and they're having to impress. It's where they're accepted. They don't have to perform. Now, unfortunately, we can love our children, but we can expect them to perform. I grew up in a household where my dad was an academic. He was a university lecturer. Therefore, educational excellence was a god. So when I didn't do well in exams, I felt I had failed him. Now, bless him. You know, he was a product of his time, but that's what he made me feel. I had to perform. We don't want to put that onto our kids in our families. We're loved. It's a basic need for all children. And we need them to know that they're loved. And I'm going to speak a lot about this afternoon when I talk about love languages for children. And actually, for me, that is the most important session I'm doing, because it is so important that our children know that they are loved. It's a place where we can relax. Family needs to be fun. If you make your family fun, your kids are going to want to be there. And what's even better is they're going to want to bring their friends there too. And a home full of fun is a great place. And we just love that part about our family. It was fun. We did have fun. We still have fun. It's a place where we can relax, because the world out there can be quite stressful. We go home to relax. Our children need to relax. Do you know, I heard such a sad thing. My sister's grandson, he's got some special needs issues, and his key worker is working with him because when he plays, he does not know how to play without being anxious and stressed, because he thinks he's got to be the best and he's got to win at everything. So this key worker is helping Harry play in a way that de-stresses him, and he has fun, purely for fun. And when you hear something like that, it can make you feel very sad, because you think, what have we done that we get to this place where children can't play without feeling stressed? So this is intentionally what we're trying to nurture in our families is a place where they can relax, where it's not stressful. And it's a place where we can grow. Family is where you dare to dream. It's where you think, I want to do this, and your parents say, well, go on then, you can. Why can't you do that? You can do that. It's a place where we are able to grow and change and alter. And we do. You know, when you think if your child is a baby now, when that child is 17, it will be unrecognisable. And family is where they are allowed to change and to grow. And it's the parent's role is to create the family where this can happen. And you make the decisions. So don't give these important decisions away. And as I've said, others will take this over. TV, media, we're always banging on about it, screens. But it's very prevalent and will be in your child's life. Because it's at them. It comes through your front door. You used to be able to keep it out there and choose when you went into it. Now it's there. But don't be frightened of it. Don't be fearful of it. Be intentional about it. And you set the moral compass. You decide what your values are. One of the things in our family, Clive hates gossip. Now, the reason we gossip is because it's attractive. It's juicy. We love to know something somebody else doesn't know. But it can be very harmful gossip. And actually, what's that saying to our kids when we destroy somebody by something we say? It's not good, is it? Clive won't tolerate it at all. So one of the values in our family, we knew if we were going to gossip, couldn't do it in front of him, couldn't do it in the family.
Good, Clive.
Exactly. But that's been a good thing because in places of work, people don't tell you gossip because they know you don't gossip. But the other side of that is they tell you things that are important because they know you won't gossip. You know, just small things like that. Grab it, bring it into your family. Be intentional. Have a plan. Now, have a plan. If you're going to get a dog, think it through. Who's going to walk it? Who's going to feed it? Who's going to pick the poos off the floor at 3 o'clock in the morning? How's it going to affect your spare time? How are you going to go out? Think it through. If you're going to have holidays, what sort of holidays do you want? Half of you want to lie on a beach, half of you want to climb a mountain. What sort of holidays are you going to have? Have a family discussion. Sit down, talk about it. Don't just arrive at the holiday and then half of you be miserable. That's a waste of time and money. Eating meals. How do you want to eat meals? Do you want your children to watch the telly while they eat the meals, or do you want to sit around together and be a family? Dream on, you say, not in the week. Okay, have a family meal, make it special on a Saturday or a Sunday or whenever it is, but be intentional, have a plan. Now, I've gone on long enough. What we'd like you to do now is to look, just look at, I've got my book, haven't I, so I can do that. Look at the little place now where we've got for ourselves to talk in couples, and we might all talk as a little group, this group, but if you are a couple, if your other person's with you, Andy, you might want to come down for this bit, just move off a bit so you've got a bit of space. Here are 6 key areas, and I'm so sorry I had to rush through this. I could have talked about each area forever, but here are 6 areas. Now, can I just say, there's no right and there's no wrong. No one's going to look at this, no one's going to mark it. Just get some honesty going. Because one thing I firmly believe is, God can work with us, but He can only work with us where we are. So we don't have to pretend to each other. Let's start where we are. Look at these areas and tick those that are regular or are happening. It's a bit difficult if we've got a baby. But and then just talk about how perhaps you could put a little bit more intention into some of these areas.